All right, welcome back to the KnivesFAST channel. It's time for another class. Welcome, class. I am the knife professor. Not really, but that's what we call these videos, the knife professor. And today we are going to go to class number 3, and we are going to talk about liners versus frames versus no liners and no frames. And so basically, you got a variety of knives here from liner locks. And again, guys, we're going to talk about lock types in another video, so don't worry. Don't get confused. There's a lock back over here. There's a frame lock, a liner lock. There's axis style locks, ball bearing locks. There's a compression lock. But the point here is not locks. It is the type of liner or no liner. So the first example I'm going to show you are, I just did video on these recently, I think yesterday, no, a couple days ago, on the Spyderco Manix 2. So in this case, this is the full-on G10 version of the Manix 2. And as you can see, you have G10 scales. The handle material is called the scales. And on the inside, you have a stainless steel liner, okay? So the liner, in this case, is the steel material that sort of acts as the frame. And again, this is going to get confusing, guys, so just bear with me. It is a liner because there is scale material on the outside, but it acts as a frame to hold the knife together. But in the case of the other Manix 2, which is the Manix 2 lightweight, it has these FRN scales, which is basically plastic, translucent scales. And as you can see, the reason this knife is lightweight is there are no liners in there. It is just the scale, the handle material. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? The advantage in this case of having a liner is you have a really sturdy knife, okay? This knife is not going to flex. It's not going to bend. It's not going to do any of those things. It's also not transparent and cool looking like this one. But anyway, but at the same point, it makes the knife heavier. Okay, so in this case, it's lightweight because there's no steel in there, except for, as you can see, what's holding the spring in on the back spacer there. And yeah, we'll talk about back spacers later. And we have a little bit. And so this, in this case, is a lot more lightweight. So pros and cons here, you get a little bit of flex to that handle material. And as some guys will tell you, they like G10. They don't like this because it feels plasticky. Well, it's made out of plastic, so therefore it feels plasticky. So it's sort of up to each person. But again, that's what makes this such a lightweight option. Sort of the same thing with the Benchmade. It is the same thing with the Benchmade. And I think, if I remember, this is GRN or Grivery, which is slightly different. But again, it is actually still plastic. And there are no steel liners in this case. Only the part that holds the spring. I can't get it to focus. Only the little bit of steel there that holds the spring for the lock. Again, we'll get into locks later. And so in this case, they've actually gone a little bit further and sort of skeletonized, or in other words, when they molded the handles, they left voids in there to make this one even lighter. So again, you get that advantage of a really light knife. But again, same issue, a little bendy, little squishy, and also a little plasticky feeling. And again, it's all preference, guys. All knives are good. I've said this. Well, I mean, there are some bad ones, but most knives are really, really good and very, very useful. It's just, what do you want to use them for? So let's go to some more examples. So again, we're going to talk about, okay, liners that, well, let's use this one in a moment. Hold on. So we're going to go to the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. So this one has liners on both sides, steel liners. And in this case, this is when I say nested liners. So in the case of this one, the liners are exposed, okay? And in the case of this one, you can't really see the liners until you look down in there. They are nested in the G10 handle material. And again, we'll talk about handle materials later and what G10 is. And this allows, again, part of the compression lock comes out of that liner material. And again, we'll talk about lock types down the road, kind of maybe doing these out of order. And I did talk about back spacers. So these right here are actually called barrel spacers. They're just spacers. Well, in this case, it's a lanyard tube, but this is a spacer to keep the knife apart, basically, if I didn't tell you that already. So now back to the knife I was trying to show. In this case, it's a little bit different. So you have a nested liner on this side, and you have the liner lock. Again, we'll get into locks. But on this side, they chose to not have a liner at all. Therefore, the handle material, which in this case is carbon fiber, provides the support. This one is not going anywhere, guys. This is a hard material. It is not bending. It is not flexing, and it is beautiful. This is the Giant Mouse GM2, number 27 of 300. And again, in this case, there is half a liner on one side to provide the lock. Okay. So now, without confusing you, because I said we weren't going to talk about locks, this guy is a frame lock. Okay. So in other words, there is no liner because the stainless steel, this is the CRKT Buku, the scales are actually the frame of the knife. There's not two different pieces. There's not a liner and scales. There are just scales that act as the frame of the knife. Therefore, again, we'll talk about it more later, but providing the frame lock. So again, in this case, this is stainless steel, so this is a very heavy knife. I think this thing's almost 8 ounces, but this is a beast of a knife. So I hope I'm not confusing you too much. There's all kinds of options, guys. This is what's called a back lock, and in this case, again, this is a, I believe, GRN plastic handle. You can see the flex. There are no liners. One more example, the Finch Cimarron. This is a liner lock, and it has nested liners on both sides. If you can pick those up now, I'm going to need my flashlight. Been trying to avoid the flashlight because it changes colors on the camera. But there you can see the pocket lint. Kidding. There you can see the nested liners done very, very well, nested into the G10. So hopefully we've gotten the point across here. This is a bit confusing because there's so many options, guys. I mean, I didn't even show every knife on the table. Here's another one with exposed liners. Back here is another lock back that the frame, now this is not a frame lock, this is a lock back, and the outside aluminum provides the only scale / frame for the knife. So hopefully we got across the point about frames versus liners or no liners. In some cases, these knives just rely on plastic material, and that's what makes them lightweight and easy to wield. So the point is, every knife is useful, guys. It's what do you prefer? Everybody prefers something. There are people that absolutely dislike this knife because they don't like the plastic. This is one of my favorite knives. It's light, and it is very useful and very capable. So it just depends on what you like. Hopefully I explained that well enough, and sorry for the long video. Again, there's probably another 5 or 6 classes left in the Knife Professor, or I think more like 6 or 7. And if you have suggestions, if you have thoughts of things you'd like to see, please let me know. If there's questions or things I didn't say right, please call me out and correct it for those around you. So thanks a lot for your support, guys, and thanks for watching the KnivesFAST channel.